Welcome to episode 9 of Dungeon Crawl Talk Soup. In this episode, I talk with my friend Chad about all things cyberpunk. Movies, books, comic books, music. I mean everything. And no fear hiatus this episode. Enjoy. In case this is your first time watching Dungeon Crawl Talk Soup, my show is one part podcast with my friends, one part perilous permadeath gaming challenge. Mostly I chat with my friends about a topic they love, but rarely get the chance to talk about at length, but at the same time, I'm trying to get my first win at Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. The catch is, if my character dies, the episode ends. Hope you enjoy the show. When did the book get published compared to, like, Neuromancer and...
When was when was Do Androids Dream? Well, it had to have been earlier 80s because the movie was in 84. And I think it might have came out even before then because Ridley Scott was tapped to direct the Dune movie in the 70s, and then it was like 10 years nothing was happening, so it was like, yeah, I think at least, let's see.
Yeah, we can look this up. We're on the internet
I'm just going to look at it. So 74. Oh my gosh. Yes.
74.
Exactly 10 years before 1984 when the movie came out. And that would make sense for the timeline of Dune when he was supposed to do that 10 years. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think a lot of the themes that you're bringing up that were more prevalent in the book around like the Sisyphean thing, the religious stuff was a lot more prevalent
in the movie at all. The question of questioning one's own identity and questioning whether one is a replicant or not comes up during the movie. Not nearly as overwhelmingly prevalently as in the book, but it does come up in the movie. But the Sisyphean aspect of things, it doesn't come up at all. And then the hilarity of like the obsessing over every little animal and all those different things is just. Just not very not prevalent in the movie at all. So those things were really great to like add to the mix for myself.
Yeah, I feel like the book, so I had the benefit of reading the book before I saw the movie because I read the book when I was in high school and I didn't really even know that the movie was related to it.
That's
and
incredible.
So I had kind of like my own ideas of what was in my head, and I did not think of it as like a hard-boiled detective story as much as it was in the movie, but that's cool. I like that interpretation. I was more like thinking that humans are trying to prove their humanity by taking care of these mechanical pets. I was kind of thinking it's like, because you think about it, the Voight Kampff test that you were talking about, it's an empathy test. And then also like, the wife is plugged into the machine as well. And it's like an empathy machine. It's almost like people are so in tune with technology, they have to be reminded how to feel.
I think so, but I think about it more as being a social status thing of them being like weirdly obsessed over it, and the way that like it's the equivalent of like social media followers.
It's that too.
Or something.
Yeah, it totally is, and it's like, well, that owl must be expensive, right?
Right, and the capitalism of like, oh my gosh, like I gotta have that, and then like I'll take out a loan to get this goat.
Yeah. It's so silly, right?
It's so silly. And then they like see bugs or something like that, and they're just like, "Whoa, a bug!" It's so fantastic.
You know what? It's like that level of commentary. Think about like the things that people spend money on now.
Absolutely.
Like gamer girl bathwater.
Oh God, I know. Oh my God.
Oh, here's another one. A single spicy chip.
Wait, why?
A single spicy chip. People will spend like $12 on it.
Oh, because of how spicy it is, or just.
Yep, it's like the one chip challenge, right?
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, I mean, just like what else people will, spend their money on, craziest things. And
then add on top of it also the environmentalism side of this, of like this is all the way that it is because of like destroying the earth. He already wrote that in the 70s, right?
Yep.
He already prognosticated what was going to happen. And then all the animals die and stuff, and they animals have such huge currency because of them not existing and not being able to live in our shitty world anymore. Wait, let me pause for a second again and talk about this shop that I'm standing in front of.
We
went to this shop called Nogubs or Nogebs. What do you think? Nogebs? Noggubs.
No Gibbs. Noggubs. I like
Noggubs.
Noggubs. Yeah.
Welcome to Noggub's specific store.
Right?
It's a specific store. He's got only one thing. A
It's one
whip.
thing.
It's-
Yeah.
His specific store is it's a
It's
whip
okay.
store.
If you
Just
need a whip,
whips.
he's got your back.
He's got a whip. If you need a whip at this point in the game, you need this one whip. That's great. Let's see what's at
got
this
your
shop
back.
real quick
Yeah.
before we go back to. Oh,
He's
this
a
is a
real
nice general
pro.
store. This is the thing we've been looking for sure. We definitely want to buy this potion of curing because then it'll identify it for us. And that's pretty much the only thing we need here. Yep. Okay. So let's see. Do we have 2 curing? Yes. Okay. Awesome. And then we have an identity. So it's time for you to do your part of the game again.
Yep. I'm doing my part. Let's see.
Oh, okay. Starship. Wait.
Yeah.
Starship Troopers
Starship
reference.
Troopers. You got it. Yeah. There you
Nice.
go. Yeah.
I got it.
That has a lot of those themes too. So I want to go with the first one.
Kai-
Katie Casey.
Katie Casey. Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Casey Kasem.
Casey
Let's
Kasem.
do it.
The scroll.
Oh,
Enchant armor. Not bad. Let's enchant some armor.
I'm not gonna lie. Like if there was a Casey Kasem, they should make a Casey Kasem AI to just forever have his top 40 countdown. Because I remember growing up listening to that, and
A whole generation of
think they
people
s-
don't even know that he did that, and they
Yeah.
listen to Ryan Seacrest doing it for the last, I swear,
know,
an
right?
entire
But yeah,
generation now.
Seacrest needs to be out, as they say, right?
Seacrest out?
Yeah, Seacrest, get out. That's what that means, right?
No, I don't think it is. Well, sort of. It says he's going to leave.
He's proclaiming that he's gonna get out.
He's chosen
Seacrest,
to leave
I'm
at
out.
this time. Seacrest is
Yeah.
out.
Okay, I get it now. I think I always got it. Nice. I think that yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay, well, let's
You're
talk
still
about.
alive.
We're doing great. We've made it long enough that I feel like we've had a successful episode. So see you
We've
later.
completed an episode, so bye.
Bye.
We've solved humanity's problems through the lens of cyberpunk.
Okay, let me take us places now.
Yeah, please.
Let's talk about RPG. The RPG we got to play. The Cyberpunk Netrunner. It's Android Netrunner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, we can talk
once,
about that.
so once many years ago, Chad and I were in a D&D group, and it was going okay and stuff. And then Chad mentioned that he also had the books for Netrunner, and would love to run a game for us and our friends to try to play Cyberpunk Netrunner.
Oh, you're talking
And-
about okay. So it's Cyberpunk Red. Netrunner's
Cyberpunk
the
Red.
card. Netrunner's the card game in that universe.
Oh, so it's the same universe, though.
Yeah.
So I wasn't that far off, but okay. So excuse me,
No, you're good.
everyone.
Yeah, you're
Netrunner
good.
is the card game, which I actually really enjoy, but that's not the same.
That
thing.
was we played that as well. That's why I was confused.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we're good now. Cool.
The the Cyberpunk Red, it was so
Yes.
great. And can you run me through, what happened there? Tell the story of it. Tell us all about our characters and stuff. And a former guest on the show was also a player.
Nice.
Michelle played with us, right? If I remember, she was
Yeah, she was our
she was the
Netrunner.
tech. Yeah, she was the Netrunner.
Yeah, she was our Netrunner. Yep. Yeah, I am happy to talk about. So I hope I don't confuse the plots because I'm also playing actually a game now with some people I met on Reddit.
Oh,
But,
that's amazing. So come back to our story. How far along are you? I just want to hear about this now. I'm like,
Yeah, no, I can start with ours and let me just explain the game.
okay.
And then I can explain like I guess some of the loose plot or like themes that come up in the game as well. But
Well,
the game
this speaks to
yeah.
the fact that one of the things that I struggle with as a host of this show, my wife's going to kill me over this, is that, because I'm interrupting you from telling your story, but I'm not going to play the game, so I'm not going to die in the meantime. I struggle with the fact that, like, what I want to do is, like, talk about the thing I want to talk about, right? And I want you to tell me new stuff, so I'm like, Chad, just jump to the part that I want to hear about. But the best version of the podcast is you tell us about our game first, and then you get to your current game, right? And I did want you to remind me of all the things from our game, but I'm like, part of me always wants to interrupt and be like, oh, just go to this part. Like, I want to hear about your current game, because that's actually what would get me excited, is hearing about what you're excited about right this second, But let's do the right, proper thing. Let's at least record the part.
Yeah, you just gotta buckle up and trust that I can guide the conversation.
You can. I'm not like I'm not like a toddler over here though.
Yeah.
I can trust you. Okay, so so tell me the story of our original game. I'm forgetting a lot.
Yeah, no, I
of
was gonna give it.
Anyway,
yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell the whole story or anything like that, but I'm gonna set the stage. So yeah, Cyberpunk Red. I think if you boil it down to its base components, is a simpler version of Dungeons and Dragons. It's based on a 10-sided dice system. It is pretty basic, but it's lethal, and I think that's what's kind of fun about it.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, it's very like quick. It's fast and loose too. Like I think there's a lot more room for fun. And one of the things that we haven't talked about yet, we kind of flirted with when we were talking about fashion, is the idea of just style over substance.
Yeah.
The prevailing principle in Cyberpunk Red is it doesn't really matter what you do, but did you look cool as fuck doing it?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, then you can do it. Like, it's that simple.
That's so good. You told us that right off the bat, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I love charisma-based characters, so I love when we can just, like, try to talk our way out of shit.
Exactly. So, yeah. So we gathered some friends. We had a small group of what are called edge runners, and these are people who are basically mercenaries. And they're running on the edge, right? They're living life in the fast lane. And they partner up and they do jobs, or what we call runs. And we talked about Neuromancer earlier, like the Stray Light run. It's a heist, right? It's usually it's a heist or a job or something along those lines. And of course, like in any heist, shit goes sideways fast. Things happen that you don't plan for. And as the storyteller of the game, you kind of have to balance those things out. But you also have to balance out like some of the other subsystems. For example, like one big trope in Cyberpunk is net running, and that's being able to escape totally from reality and plug into another world, right?
It's an incredibly specific aspect of this RPG.
Yeah.
And this world, I mean, in this genre as well, but it's incredibly specific in this RPG and in like a Shadowrun where you just suddenly are not in the regular fight anymore, or at least one person in the room is not in the regular fight and is instead like fighting in the internet against an entirely different set of bad guys. And usually the rest of the people are trying to protect that person while they're trying to do their downloads. In meat space. Yes, I love that.
That's what they
call
it.
Meat space. Yes, absolutely.
So it's cyberspace versus meat space. Yeah, and you're right. And time moves at a different, like the mechanics are different. Like, but the way that
it's an entirely different game inside there.
It's a mini game for sure. But it has a lot of the same principles, and you can die. You know, you die in the Matrix, you die in real life, right?
Yep.
That's what they say.
Very Johnny Mnemonic and all that stuff.
Yeah, and so the game, so Michelle was our netrunner, and I tried to mix up combat encounters with some net running fun stuff, and was using Roll20 and like tried to set up, make it nice. But I think it was more about the storytelling, and I think that's really one thing I really like is like oral tradition and stuff. But our characters were good. Remind me, your character was it the rocker boy?
The rock.
Dave was
no, he was the rocker
Dave was
boy.
the rocker boy. Yeah.
I was the more main character based, like the guns and.
You were the solo.
I was the solo, like the regular fighter style.
Yeah, the fighter. Yep. Yeah. And then we had a techie that was Anthony. Oh yeah. And we had Michelle as netrunner. Yep. So like the whole premise of our story was there was this little girl who was basically implanted with black market cyberware technology. She was the daughter of a very corrupt corporate executive who subjected her to this experiment, and he was paying a group of edge runners to track her down and bring her back. Yeah. And so there was a plot, like a subplot around with all these gangs who were trying to fight over. They had kidnapped her, and they were trying to fight over custody of her. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we had like a bottle episode where there was a fun house with some puzzles and stuff. That was fun. Yeah, it was like
you did such a great job leading that. I specifically remember being blown away by the clowns gang that we were fighting against.
Yeah, the bozos.
And that's not. And you didn't like just make that up from scratch. It's something from
that's
the
an actual
universe.
Gang.
Well, I
Bozo,
mean, it's an actual gang in that universe.
yes, yeah, and so that's the
It's not an
that kind
actual
of goes
gang.
along. Yeah, so Mike Pondsmith created the Cyberpunk Red universe, and you can, I mean, if you read through the book, I mean, he just lifted shit directly from all uh, the literature and movies and pop culture, but he
Mm-hmm.
smashed it together, and he just really emphasized the overall, like, what is the most hyperbolic representation of this that we can do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and let's take it to the nth degree. So that's not the only ridiculous gang, by the way.
I
There are
bet.
like, there's another gang called the Elvises. Like, it's reminiscent of Fallout New Vegas, right?
Right.
The Kings. Like,
Yep.
there's like God, there's one that's like all vampires, for example.
Okay.
And they're all, yeah. So there's a lot of funny gangs. The Bozos are another one. The funny thing is, they're not like dancing around being clowns. They're very mysterious,
Oh, totally.
and you don't see them very often. And so I tried to play that into the game. But I just love telling stories, and that was a fun experience. And honestly, I didn't realize that if anybody liked it or not.
I
It was just like,
I
it's
thoroughly
fun for
enjoyed
me.
it. I very
Yeah,
rarely get to play a player though too, so that was really awesome for
yeah,
me. And
yeah,
and I just loved jumping around and making mistakes and stuff, and I loved the fact that you told
yeah,
us it's brutal, and it was totally brutal.
yeah,
And those clowns, I just want to talk about the clowns for just a second longer, the
yeah,
bozos.
yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
very reminiscent of the Warriors to me.
Yeah, you know what? That's I hadn't thought of that, but you're absolutely right.
Is the Warriors,
You're
what type of
absolutely right.
genre or like world is that? Because that's very based in reality, isn't it? So, but
Well, yeah, I mean, like the Warriors, I would consider post-apocalyptic. Well, like it's almost, it feels post-apocalyptic, but even is it
I
even?
think
It's
it's
like,
supposed to
so
be in real life.
it's dystopian. It's like very dystopian. It feels very near future, crime-ridden, like post-law almost.
It does,
Um,
but isn't that
yeah.
like isn't it
But then
also
there's
trying to
like this.
depict what New York actually was like in the 70s
Yeah,
or
and that's what
no?
I'm wondering. I'm like, was New York actually like a brutal wasteland? I
In the 70s? I think it was. That's what
Because like
people tell
Escape
me.
from New York is another movie where I'm like, was this supposed, like, New York as a prison? So I'm like, was it actually like that bad? Where like there's a guy rolling around in a Cadillac with chandeliers on the thing, the
Totally.
Duke of New York. Like, I just don't know. So
People
and
that
it's
wrote
okay,
people that
yeah,
wrote
to not
shit
know.
about New York in the 70s, Taxi
Yeah,
Driver, all those different things, like
yeah.
they really thought that this was a fucking wasteland. And I
Well,
and if my mom had any say in what it actually
yeah.
was, she would say yes, absolutely. It was an absolute wasteland, horrible
Oh my
place. Don't
God.
ever go there.
Yeah, you know
Um,
what? I mean, I hadn't lived in New York before I moved there.
right, same, obviously. Wait,
Yeah,
you
I
hadn't
mean,
lived in New York before
oh,
you
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had not visited New York in
Yeah,
before I moved there. I've
yeah.
never been. So I spent the first fucking week of my stay in New York not leaving my apartment because I thought someone was going to yell at me at the
Just
grocery
yell
store.
at you? Just yell at you,
Yeah.
not like murder
I'm
you.
like, "Oh my God, someone's going to bump into me and it's going to be over." So like, yeah, because I had heard all of this stuff about New York being an absolute like, and it was the early 2000s, like that reputation was far gone.
Far
Or
gone.
sorry, mid 2010s or early 2010s. So yeah, no. The perception, I guess, dictates the experience, but
It's a very different world, but but I wonder whether the Warriors had any influence on that part of the genre.
oh,
That's such great.
100%.
I am gonna take us on two slight journeys real quick.
Yeah,
Have you ever
I
heard
see
of
the
a movie? Yeah, let's talk about that
ca-
first. Let's talk about what's
the
going on
cattle
the
stack
screen.
up. Yeah,
Yo, these yak. I think these are yak. Uh oh. Oh, I know what's going on. So I reached level 10. For a second, I thought the thing froze, but yeah, these are all yaks, and they're all stacked up. I have been
they're all
absolutely
yacked
mauled by
together.
the yaks, and if you get into a situation where many of them are hitting you at once, you're
Yeah,
fucked. But
I mean, there's one down there too in the darkness.
that one's not necessarily there. This is another one of those things that I have to talk
It's
about a
like
lot on the
it
show.
could be. Oh yeah, I heard about this with
When
Kelly's
you
episode.
can, so you
If
can
you want to
see
reiterate, go ahead.
yeah,
Yep.
sure. What I can see is moving, but anything I can't see is a remnant of the last thing that I saw there. So this was there when I turned the corner up here, but it might not be there anymore. As a matter of fact, it
There is
probably isn't.
no there is no yak there. There is no
There probably
there
isn't a
there.
yak there, but the point is, it's a sort of a reminder, a glimpse of like this was there when you were there last.
I get it.
Have
Yep.
you ever seen a movie called I think it's called Bronx Warrior 1990?
You know I
1990
have, bud.
Bronx Warrior? I know you
Yeah.
would have.
Yeah.
It's an absolute fucking masterpiece.
Oh yeah. You know what? I was just watching some of it the other day. I'm not even joking.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
hadn't
because
thought
I
about
went
that
on a
movie in a long time, but I went out and bought it for like
yeah
$35 offline like 10 years ago or something, just so
yeah
I'd never not have it.
yeah
It's
yeah. And I
such a
think
brilliant masterpiece.
there's this like pocket there where it's like this almost. I think you know what? I think it was driven by Mad Max's popularity.
Absolutely.
Now, definitely, like when Road Warrior came out, all of these like clone movies of this like badass dude with no like the man with no name.
Yep.
He would roll into town,
Like
but the setting was
a
just
western turned into sci-fi.
yep, western into sci-fi. But it was like there was something more to it. It was like very like the women were very male gaze, scantily clad.
Yep.
The men were like also very male gaze of like if like a 12 pack,
Absolutely.
oiled up. But the funny thing is like that I feel like that aesthetic was so bizarre to see translated to the post-apocalyptic setting because
It
it's like
was.
wouldn't you want to be like kitted up, armor, uh, helmet maybe like or are you running around with a wasteland like scrap sword?
And you're like having a belly shirt so I can see your
Yeah,
abs.
exactly. Yeah. Dude. There's some wild movies that came out of that era.
I would love to watch
Um,
more of them, but Bronx Warrior 1990 has got to be near the top
yeah.
of the list. It's one of the best. Okay, but that's a wild tangent, and I apologize
That's
because
a
that's
oh it's, no, it's not that bad because it's still a pocket of what we're talking about, which is I think post what would happen post cyberpunk society, which was be the apocalypse, right? So
yeah, that's absolutely true.